The character in it, Beth, I never explained last month. She was the sister of Peter, my friend who died last year, so it's been kind of one after another. Graduated loss. The image of the pebbles in her mouth was the worst thing, and the fact she was dead at 9 years old. Kids our age weren't supposed to die. I revisit the memory quite unexpectedly during spring break, spurred by a letter, emails, then phone calls from Sandy and Chris announcing a high school reunion for the class of 1970. You can tell how old I am.
Good math.
In a stable, young, post-war town, most of us went from kindergarten through 12th grade together. Then practically overnight we scattered. Well, the reunion's the good news, Sandy's voice, unchanged from childhood remarks. We didn't want to say it in the letter, but what's the bad news? I interrupt. Beth died last fall. The list grows. The first was Kathy in the summer, dividing elementary from middle school. One year she and Sandy and I were sharing our 4th grade spelling test results in a fierce competition for top grades. The next year, our 5th grade class, minus Kathy, was in a new building and classroom with Mrs. Clark hovering over us, pendulous breasts under her flowery dress, supported by crossed, short-sleeved arms. That first day, she shouted orders as to seating arrangements. "You're too tall," she scolded and sent me to the back, where I wouldn't block her eagle-eye searches for the slightest infraction. As she went through the class list, she noted, Kathy, it would have been nice to have had her in our class. That was the last anyone mentioned her. I don't remember who told me that summer, but the details were burned into my brain. Kathy was at the town pond, the sand beach covered with towels and families, and suddenly somebody noticed she was missing. They formed a human chain and slowly moved across the murky water until someone bumped her body. When they pulled her out, they discovered her mouth was full of pebbles. The rest of the summer, through ink-black nights, I lay motionless in bed listening to katydids, my mouth full of imaginary pebbles, and wondered what it was like to die. The news of Beth punches a hole in our private grief, and Kathy comes out again. Brian, a builder now in New Hampshire, was in love with Kathy, as much as a 9-year-old kid could be. She helped him with his arithmetic. That summer he befriended a kid in another town whose father owned a funeral home. Kathy's inside, the father had told him, and Brian, who had no reason not to think she was simply visiting, opened the door to go in and say hi. "No, she's dead," the father then added. "You think that's bad?" Susan said. "I was there that day at the pond. I've been going to shrinks for years." After Kathy, we became old hands at keeping it in. There was Don, my first steady boyfriend, who the summer after 8th grade wrote me love letters from the Jersey Shore. In March of our senior year, a car accident left him critical and on the absentee list through graduation. 3 days later, he gave up. Don's mother threw herself on the casket and wouldn't leave, as the rest of us went our separate ways. Occasionally, I'd hear about a drug overdose or another accident, or the most striking, my 12th grade best friend who ended up overboard, most likely with help from a yacht off the coast of Virginia. We talk about our small class made up of nervous breakdowns and a class president who became a college professor and a serial rapist. The one who had it all together was Beth. She went on to Smith and then grad school for a doctorate in clinical psych, where she met her husband. They opened a practice together, had a boy and a girl, and probably a nice house with a picket fence and a dog. Then a year and a half ago, she was diagnosed with liver cancer. Brian wants a picture of Kathy taken with Chris, Sandy, and me at Chris's birthday party. I don't remember, but Chris says we're standing on the lawn in smock dresses, white socks, patent leather shoes, and pointy hats. Brian says he hasn't forgotten Kathy's face. He just wants to have something tangible. Kathy was a shadow in the yearbook and in the stacks of photos taken between 5th grade and high school graduation. By the evening following our last final exam, with Dawn on life support, there were 2 missing sets of pleated robes, sandals, and mortar boards, perched at odd angles as the cameras clicked away. As the class of 1970 assembled as a whole for the last time, we paused and then stepped in line to the front of the gym to receive our diplomas, forming an invisible human chain. Thank you.